Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Welcome back to my channel today. I'm back in my apartment this video, and the leaves are changing, the season is changing, and I think it's time to put up some fall decorations. So I will be doing another story time about my first and only really serious relationship I've been in, and my takeaways from that. This will be probably a two-part video, but this is part one. And as I'm doing that, I am going to try and hook up this wreath. So this is all from Dollar Tree. I don't like how the way the wreath looks now, so I'm gonna try to make it a little bit prettier and then make like a centerpiece. Again, just a cheap, easy way. All of this was probably under $30, so yeah. So before I start, I just wanna give you a little background. I want this video to be named Love or Infatuation. Mainly because my serious relationship, I always thought, oh, I was in love. Like, this is a guy that, my first love, all of it. But like when it ended, here more recently, it made me like think and reflect, like what, like were we really in love or were we just infatuated with each other? Like what category does it fall in? So I had to do some Googling because I was like, what's love, what's infatuation, you know? So I found this grid, and it basically says love is an intense feeling of deep affection. It develops over time, lasts a long time, accepts the imperfections more than physical attraction, and doesn't make a person irrational. Versus infatuation is an intense but short-lived passion for admiration for someone. Instant, temporary, only sees the perfections, mostly a physical attraction, and can make a person act irrationally. So with those two sides in mind, as I go through this and I'm decorating and talking, I just want you guys to think with me and kind of reflect or have your own takeaways from your own personal relationships if this relationship was really in one of those buckets. So like I said, I think I've been in love before, and that was with this relationship, but honestly, I'm not too sure. Before I dive a little too deep, this is just a little background of this relationship I'm about to talk about. It happened a few years ago, so I'm 28 now. It happened when I was like 24, 25, when I met a guy that I believe I fell in love with, but and he was also my first serious relationship, and a relationship that I was actually sexually active in. How we met. So where we met, I want to say, probably not the best place, but it was a local bar here. I call this local bar Sticky Icky for many reasons. It was a good night. We're out with friends, and we just kind of met through mutual friends. He thought I was cute and asked for my number in a really, corny but funny way, where he had his phone out and he was like, oh, can you do this survey for me? And I'm like, what survey? You know, I've had a little bit to drink. So, and it was just basically the form or the contact update to put your number in. And I was like, okay, I guess that's kind of cute. We danced for most of the night, and then just to make sure me and my sister got home safe, he did follow us home to ensure that I arrived at my location safely. So again, that was very sweet. That was actually not the perfect encounter, but it was a good, funny start to a relationship initially is what I thought. From there, we did end up having another date. We went out to, can't remember the exact name of the restaurant. Again, the date, perfect gentleman, just opened all the doors, closed them for me, pulled out the chairs, asking all the questions. It was fun. We were laughing, just getting to know each other. And yeah, I had no complaints, literally no complaints before we actually got into a relationship. So when I say perfect gentleman, I feel like it was perfect gentleman. As we were talking, I always had this rule. Not really rule, but I always told myself that I was not going to have sex until I was married. I said that since high school, since I was little. I will say throughout time that did change, just because, I feel like some society pressures into my own mindset, grew up getting older and things and dating. There's a lot of times where people, I feel likes to, test ride the whip before they actually makes the purchase. I don't know if that's a saying, but yeah, they didn't want to put a title on it or anything without having sex. So I did change my outlook a little bit, and instead of marriage, I just said, okay, at least I want to be someone's girlfriend. before I take that step and connect on another level with him. So it was about January till April, like the end of January till April when we were talking. And then I had a lot of trips planned with friends throughout the year already. They were kind of preset. And since things were getting more serious with me and this other person, I actually did invite him to a trip that we went to celebrate a friend's birthday. And on that trip, he did actually ask me to be his girlfriend. Surprised me like with the little promise ring, and of course I said yes. So from that point on, again, things were still good, but when it comes to like problems or red flags, I feel like a lot of those occurred after we actually made it official and got a title. Quick pause here. I guess I can explain what I'm doing. I'm making a little fall centerpiece with some leaves while we're talking here. We'll see if I like it. So yeah, so I'm making a lovely centerpiece. The background, this vase came from Dollar Tree. It was just in the little vase sections, and I like the color. You haven't seen my apartment fully, but I have a lot of burnt oranges, rose colors all up in here. And then they have this like floral garden sand. Sometimes I use like marbles and things, but I was like, let's switch it up and put this in there just to hold it, or you can use foam sometimes, but since this is so small, I decided to do this route. And the rest of it is just from the floral section at Dollar Tree. You know, I like the red in the leaves, so I was like, let me get some of that. I like some sparkles and I like some tans, so yeah. So enough of my TED Talk, and I'm gonna be adding a little bit more into this. So we actually started dating. And then actually like kind of looking back into things though, I will say things did move fairly quick after us actually meeting. And that literally could have been a red flag beyond just him coming with me to trips, but like even that night at the bar, like I said, following me home, and kind of the survey intake, like the problems that occurred later in our relationship, which I will dive into, that could have been like, okay, girl, sweet and all, but it's a little crazy. So after shortly making things official, one of the major red flags that like kind of popped up sooner than later is when we would go out. So I'm not a girl who likes to party a lot, but I do like to like have fun with my friends. At that time I was on like a dance team, and sometimes we would go out together and grab a drink or go dance. Like, I mean, we like to dance. So I did that a lot. And sometimes when we would go out together and drinking was involved, and we'd be having a good time most of the night, but when it got time to leave, and honestly, most of the time it wasn't that like early or like that late. It was pretty early in the night, and he was ready to go, and like I was not usually most of the time. And I can admit, sometimes I can be stubborn and I want to stay later when I know I should be going home. And then those times we'll talk about it. But there's other times where, like I said, it was pretty early in the night and he was just really persistent on going home. And then if I wanted to stay, it would turn into like, you didn't listen to me, you never listened to me, and I'm ready to go home. And yeah, again, I thought it was maybe because he was just cared really bad about my safety, or just didn't want to be out too late. He was more of a homebody. But in the end of things, especially like the last night, like when we broke off things, I feel like it really came down to being a little bit more overprotective and slightly controlling on that side too, because it was a very one-sided, like reflection-wise. Not only that, a little bit into the relationship, it's like when he really revealed things to me, especially like once we started dating, that he battled with depression. Again, I know there's so many people out there statistically, about like I think 19.4 million people who battle with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But also those times where he would have like his episodes of depression or was really down, I didn't know how I could help. Like it got really silent and very standoffish, and again, like he would say things that indirectly not put blame on me, but kind of like he'd get alone, get silent, and then if I would try to reach out, it's like, it's okay, I can handle it myself. Or my favorite that he said multiple times, like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna be a lesson for you. And I'm like, but I I never said that you were. I never even said anything was wrong with us in general. So why are we pointing a direction there? So navigating that was really hard, and it really intensified as the relationship went on. Again, at this point, I think it was maybe like July, August time. We didn't start dating until like we didn't meet each other until like late January. So not much time has gone by. It's less than a year in this relationship. And then lastly, another huge thing was, again, I didn't have sex till later. And when we first decided to take that step, shortly after becoming a couple, my sex drive, it was high. It was really high, you know, we was having a good time. But I needed to get on things. So like, I don't know if it was either the birth control or just my hormones changing, like just not being used to all of it. There was times where this might be too much information, but I had like body concerns that I was like, I don't like, either abnormal discharge, things like that in between periods, and didn't want to have sex at the time. And I would explain this all to him, so it's not like I was just being distant. But that also caused some friction in our relationship. Again, I understand love languages. His was definitely physical touch. Mine, I think, is maybe acts of service. I'm still trying to figure that out. But in those moments where we were spells of not having sex, whether it was my cycle or issues like that, again, the distance would happen. He would be like, oh, like, you don't want me, da 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 da. Like, it just kept being more of an issue. And that more happened like towards the end of the relationship. So let me get back to the timeline. This is about from April to October that we are actually in a relationship. So October, actually the night of Halloween, it's 'tis the season, that's when we actually broke up officially. He had work that day, and I was out with my friends. They started the festivities at a house party. Everybody was going pretty hard at this party, and I was not, because I, for one, knew that he was meeting us out later, and I just know we drink that an argument can happen. I don't want an argument. Like, I was already going to be coming over towards the night, and I also wanted to be safe and just kind of be more of a DD. And so we kind of got ready, we got dressed, we took pictures, all of that at the house, and then we went to this bar in Fort Wayne, and he ended up meeting us out there. And when he got there, again, never said like he had to come. It was more open invite. I was like, I had my bags packed to go over there as well, because I understand sometimes after work you can be tired. I'm tired all the time after work. So he just still decided he wanted to come out, so he ended up meeting us out. As soon as he got there, like when I say that there was attitude, he was very, very dismissive. Just didn't look like he didn't want to be there. It was the whole thing. So I just tried to, pump him up like, oh, are you excited? Let's dance, da da da. And that's what we did. And he kind of loosened up, but just kept making slick comments like, oh, I'm glad I came here. There's too many guys here. And I'm like, okay, like even if there's guys here, like I understand insecurities, but I'm a very, very loyal person. So I was like, I ain't looking, and if someone were to approach me, I'm definitely turning it down. So it's like, what does that have to do with trusting me? But again, he's a guy, so he's a little bit protective. So I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't make it a big deal. So again, we continued dancing. I thought it was a pretty good night until it came to, again, leaving. And he was ready to leave, and I was like, okay. I was like, I drove by myself, but I also took some people with me, so I want to make sure the people I came with had to have a ride home, because again, they were going pretty hard at the party. Again, that instantly turned to an argument, just right out on the bar floor, yelling, saying I didn't care, didn't love him, your friends don't care about you anyways, like just going off. And then he just storms out. So I'm like, all right, this is weird. My friends are staring at me, I'm looking at them, I'm just thoroughly confused. And then he just starts texting me as I'm, again, still gathering my friend and basically just driving home for the night. I did not want to see him, nor did I want to continue the conversation. I said, I'm just going to sleep on it, and then maybe we can talk to each other in the morning. Well, it didn't happen that way. So he was supposed to be going home, right? So I, at that time, lived a little further away. I got all the way home. I was about to turn my phone off, end up making some phone calls actually to my mom, and was about to just lay my head down again, talk about it in the morning, until I like heard a knock on my door, and it was him. I wasn't going to open it up, but unfortunately I did live with a roommate at the time, and he did get let in indirectly. So we had to have this discussion, and again, still saying I don't care about him. Your friends don't care about you. You never have time for me. Again, our schedules were extremely busy, but there was intentional time made. I'm a very family person. I even like balanced that out. Like my sister knew, like if weekends we're hanging out, then I'm gonna be hanging out with him, and then also being able to spend time with family when I can. So there was definitely time made, but that was thrown in there. Brought out kind of comments about a family member passing and things that never told me, and we were been dating this whole time. So it felt very manipulative at that point. And at that point I was like we're done. Like, get out of my room. You drove all this way, but like I don't want you here. So I honestly made him sleep on the couch, and it's not funny, but he was just like, oh, what about the cat? And I was like, I don't care about the cat. If it can hop on you, scratch your face. Like, I don't care. Like, get out of my room. And beyond that night specifically, which really made me end things, it's like there was a point where I was trying to leave the room, and he was like standing in the doorway. Pre-preference, he's never hit me, never laid a hand on me, but he was a little bit more forceful with this act because I was trying to leave, and he just took me and just put me back on my bed. But the look in his eyes he had that night, like when I say crazy, but not crazy, but also like if he wanted to hit me or do something to me, like he would. And I know I'm not crazy enough. I have been raised with all sisters, but also I know not to try or test a man. Like, for one, I'm a woman, and I'm not strong enough for that. We're not going to do that. So that was like the final straw. That was the trigger that kind of ended it all. But like kind of looking back at everything that I said here so far, when it comes to love or infatuation. Sorry, y'all. My legs are numb. When it comes to love or infatuation, some of the things that I feel like put this relationship more in the infatuation category is it was fast, like the time. Like, things didn't really develop slowly. We kind of met at a bar and then started hanging out like every weekend from there. Got introduced to each other's friends really fast. I don't think we got the time to maybe ask some of those essential questions or to like know each other before like diving so deep. Another thing is just kind of with the battling through depression and some of those moments where we would argue, both intoxicated and trying to leave. Some things I found out later in our relationship, I think, again, was a slight sense of overprotection, but also a little bit of controlling in there, and a little bit of like manipulation. It was very, if I outlook on it, a little bit narcissistic, which was, yeah. So that was one major thing, and I think that's what also put it in the infatuation category, and just the need of that physical touch in moments where I couldn't provide that, how that altered our relationship, I think, again, was more in the infatuation stage and not really love. So that morning, he left. We did end up meeting up for like a call or for lunch, and in that conversation, it was still one-sided. We kind of talked about everything, but he was like, it's crazy how one bad can erase all the good. And with that being said, I kind of explained, I was like, it doesn't erase all the good, but the one bad, it was enough to like, for me to sit back and realize some of those red signs that I was kind of overlooking because I was kind of like more maybe in that puppy love area. It didn't erase all the good. Like I said, he was a great person. He still is. Like, I always wish nothing but the best for people, but was a gentleman. We laughed. Like, he became like my best friend as well. But there's some things, some signs that I said, relationships I've never put in that I saw with him, and I had to explain that. So there's more to the plot, because I don't know if this was more open-ended or if this relationship actually per se ended, or if I did try it again. Most of the time when I end things with people, I'm very just cut and dry. Like, I'm not going back. Well, I might have went back, and that story will come later. But I hope, let me put this last piece of decorations in here. Oh. I didn't get to the wreath, but this is the finished product of my lovely decoration lamp, which will probably go on this like mantle in my kitchen. But in our next video, I'll probably then maybe do the wreath or probably do something different. Again, I usually cut it off, but I may have tried some things again with him and share the outlook with that. But again, mainly the story, our message of sharing this is, again, if you can relate, if you've been in an experience like this, maybe seeing those signs early and maybe talking through those, or maybe ending it before it's too much and you're too invested. And also to, again, please don't hesitate to comment, share, tell your story. Guys or girls, like relationships that you've been that may have turned either south, or you had good takeaways, or maybe it's still going. Or maybe things I didn't see in this one that, I don't know, could give them some grace or credit. So thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. And if you haven't watched the other videos, please do like and subscribe.